At this time, at this place, you will witness the inauguration of a new dimension in television for the Greater Washington metropolitan area, as the Greater Washington Educational Television Association takes pride in presenting the new era. To Arthur Fisher and Seymour Krieger, who labored so hard and long for the cause of this organization and did not live to see the completion of their efforts, we respectfully dedicate this program. Good evening. Tonight, we inaugurate for your service a new community television station for the Washington metropolitan area, WETA-TV. For many people in our audience, this night represents the realization of many years of devoted service. I am George Baker, station manager, and it will be my privilege to tell you the highlights of their story. The President of the United States, Mr. John F. Kennedy, was to have planned to open our dedicatory program with a personal message, but pressures of recent events have prevented him from doing so. We are honored, however, to read you his greeting from the White House. I would like to extend my congratulations on the opening of Washington's educational television station. The growth of educational television in America has been great in the past years, and it is something we should all encourage. I am happy that the nation's capital will have its own educational television station. Signed, John F. Kennedy. On March 16th, 1953, a nonprofit organization called the Greater Washington Educational Television Association was formed with the express purpose of bringing to the Greater Washington metropolitan area an educational TV channel. After 8 years of dedicated, selfless effort, this goal sees its accomplishment here tonight. Now, what generated the interest to form this association, and why educational television? The answers to these questions constitute the first chapter of our story. First, far-sighted businessmen, educators, and prominent citizens saw a need and an opportunity. The need for community enrichment, community education, and community service. How could this need be supplied for the greatest number at the lowest cost in the quickest time? And take advantage of the opportunity to bring the rich resources of the Washington area to the community and to the whole nation? The answer was educational television. Secondly, and of equal importance, was the baby boom. The baby boom which followed the Second World War, a population explosion unparalleled in the history of our nation. More children mean more schools, more classrooms, and more teachers. But 8 years ago, even as today, there were not enough schools, nor classrooms, nor teachers. And the teachers we had were overburdened and required to teach all subjects: science, the languages, arithmetic, geography, history, the social studies, and so on ad infinitum. This was before satellites, super bombs, and space, before the Soviet educational challenge, in which we now find ourselves faced with the pressures of unrelenting competition at all educational levels. We had to improve the quality of education, to supply the additional specialization, to bring the richest resources to our pupils, all at a cost the community could afford. The answer again was educational television. A group of concerned people met to form an organization to fill these needs, and thus the Greater Washington Educational Television Association, or GWETA as we know it, was born. Now you might ask, why did it take 8 long years to bring an educational television station to Washington? This question brings us to our second chapter. On April 11th, 1953, a board of directors was elected, made up of 12 representatives from area colleges, universities, schools, and cultural institutions. This was to provide the framework of our present board that numbers 21 member organizations and institutions. On September 30th, 1953, individual citizens were asked to serve on a public advisory council to enlist the support of the community at large and to seek funds to construct an educational television station. Thus, an association was established and the work begun. The officials and executive committee of this association and other citizens involved worked thousands of hours to get education airborne. Representative of the people who volunteered their time to solve the many problems that arose were publisher Willard Kiplinger, lawyer Harry Rosenfield, government executive Barnard Joy, school board member Elizabeth Camel, university executives Dean William Nelson of Howard University, and Father Daniel Power of Georgetown University. Educator and housewife Zelda Kosh. Educator and pioneer with Goethe Louise Walker. Executive Secretary Patricia Oliver. Editorial Specialist Paul Osier of the Smithsonian Institution. But the community was not ready. This was the era of apathy. The public was little interested in education in general, and certainly not in educational television. However, it was during this period of apathy that Goethe began to function actively in the field of adult audience programming, producing a series of programs over WMAL and WRC locally during the board chairmanship of Dean Martin Mason, who was Dean of the School of Engineering of George Washington University. America was on the move, with a booming economy that left little interest or time for problems that this self-same boom was bringing. It would take the impact of our own shortcomings in space technology to sound the alarm to America. Now the organization had to fulfill an immediate and urgent need for supplemental aid to the schools. This presented a very real challenge to the democratic process, for representatives of 17 school systems had to develop a course of study which would enrich the existing curriculum in Maryland, Virginia, the District of Columbia, and many private and parochial schools as well. In September of 1958, the Greater Washington Educational Television Association took the problem to the stations that were on the air, and a program series, Time for Science, was begun over WTTG. Thus, without a station, at least a portion of the need for programs of enrichment to the school could be realized. This was followed by Time for the Arts and a limited amount of programming for the adult audience. It was during the same period that another problem came up to slow the progress of the ultimate development of the station. Although a channel had been expressly assigned to the Washington area for an educational television station, this channel lay in the UHF area of the broadcast spectrum, as opposed to the VHF area, or very high frequency area, enjoyed by the four local commercial stations, namely WTOP, WMAL, WTTG, and WRC. The difference being that in the ultra-high frequency, or UHF band, channels began at 14 and extended up to 83. Channels which did not appear on present television sets in the Washington area. WETA being assigned to channel 26 meant that in order to receive its signals, people were required to convert their existing television sets. In theory, this wasn't supposed to present a great problem, but many UHF commercial stations throughout the nation had tried and failed in efforts to compete with local VHF stations. So all avenues were explored and exhausted by Goethe to obtain allocation for a VHF non-commercial station in Washington. Ultimately, this effort would be abandoned as more UHF educational stations found it possible to survive in the face of this problem. 6 years were to pass before the community was ready to support the construction of an educational television station. It was to take another year before this support could be converted into the various plans and policies that would ensure the station's success and survival. On May 8th of 1961, a memorable event occurred as Newton N. Minow, chairman of the Federal Communications Commission, accepted from Mrs. Edmund Campbell of Gwetta an application for the construction of a non-commercial television station on Channel 26. 1 month later, on June 16, 1961, a permit to operate an educational station on Channel 26 was personally delivered to Mrs. Campbell by FCC Commissioner Robert E. Lee. Here, commenting on the occasion of this station's inaugural broadcast, is Federal Communications Commission Chairman Minow. Mr. Minow.
Today is a happy one for educational television and a very proud day for the Federal Communications Commission. Today, station WETA begins serving the nation's capital, giving all of us a chance to catch up not only with educational television, but also with UHF television. Let me explain. The FCC has allocated 2 parts of the broadcasting spectrum to television. One section is the VHF, or very high frequency band, which has only 12 channels. The other is the UHF, or ultra high frequency band, with 70 channels. Television got its start on the 12-channel VHF, and this is where you will find Washington's 4 commercial television stations. But we have about reached the saturation point with the 12-channel system. There are no more spaces to assign, and the only room for growth is in the 70-channel UHF end of the spectrum. Those of you seeing this program know where station WETA can be found, on UHF channel 26. The usual home receiver set is designed to receive VHF only, but it can be adapted to receive UHF as well with the addition of a converter. There are also all-channel receivers on the market, and we expect that they will become more popular as more UHF channels take to the air. Families with sets that can receive UHF will see the development of a new kind of television, and parents, of course, will be especially interested in seeing the television classrooms their children are attending. But the promise of educational television goes far beyond classroom instruction. The non-commercial stations have formed a 4th network to produce programs of cultural and educational values for an adult audience. Washington is especially rich in cultural resources: the universities, the museums, the lecture groups, the government activities, and the concerts. Educational television can bring these resources to an ever-widening audience. Given proper support, we can expect this educational television station to become a major cultural institution here in Washington. With its freedom to experiment, with its freedom to risk a small audience, we can expect from educational television programs that will stir our imaginations, challenge our minds, and lengthen our vision.
Not only is educational television of great interest to the citizens of Washington, but also to the nation. We had hoped that the Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare, Mr. Abraham Ribicoff, could have been with us tonight. However, pressing duties out of town have called him away. It is with pleasure, however, that I read this wire sent to us by Mr. Ribicoff. It is a pleasure to salute the opening of this educational television station and the dedication to community interest which puts it on the air after sustained efforts and imaginative planning by a number of people. Channel 26, WETA-TV, marks the 57th link in a chain of stations which I hope will continue to grow and open up new vistas for learning and culture. The people working at this station have the opportunity to make outstanding contributions to the quality and content of educational television. They have rich material for it here in the nation's capital, with the great resources of our national museums, art galleries, libraries, and historical buildings. I am sure that those who will be developing the programs for Channel 26 will make good use of all of this. Good luck to them and congratulations to all who have helped to get this educational station on the air from Washington. Educators have naturally been quite outspoken on the need for educational television. However, responsible broadcasters everywhere also recognize the importance of these stations. Here, speaking in behalf of the National Association of Broadcasters, is its president, former governor of Florida, Leroy Collins. Mr. Collins.
Good evening. Those who operate commercial television stations have a manifold mission. Their stations educate, but they also inform and entertain. In addition, commercial television has a definite responsibility as an advertising medium, because not only does advertising provide operating revenue, but it is in the field of advertising that this medium makes a decided contribution to our nation's economic growth and stability. As broadcasters, commercial television operators welcome educational television stations because they recognize the need and vast potential of such stations. They also realize that commercial stations and educational stations can complement each other in the presentation of instructional programs. As good citizens, commercial broadcasters are vitally concerned with education television and hopeful for its continued success. Since the beginning of television, commercial broadcasters have provided time and talent and money and counsel to the educational stations which have been established all over the country. And this assistance will continue, I am sure. Now, as president of the National Association of Broadcasters, and on behalf of the Commercial Television Broadcasters of America, and as a resident of Washington, I am most happy to welcome educational television station WETA-TV on the air on this, its first program. And I also wish to offer heartiest congratulations to the members of the Greater Washington Educational Television Association who have labored so long to bring the great advantages of ETV to our nation's great capital. Thank you.
It is important for us to realize that since WETA is the first educational station to be licensed for operation in our nation's capital, its policies, programs, and its ultimate success will be closely watched by other forward-thinking communities in the nation, and its acceptance will reflect the acceptance of the community. Here to comment on the potential of Channel 26 for service to the Washington metropolitan area is D.C. Commissioner Walter Tobriner.
I am very happy to have been asked by the Greater Washington Educational Television Association to appear on this inaugural program for WETA, primarily because I believe that the beginning of educational TV here is an important milestone for the District of Columbia. It has always made me feel uneasy to realize that although there are many educational television stations in cities throughout the country, the capital city has not had such a station. If any city is to have educational TV, it should be Washington, and I am very gratified that we now have station WETA. Also, I am particularly pleased that it should begin during my term as president of the Board of District Commissioners. Frankly, I'm expecting Channel 26 to perform heavily in the community service sector. The city of Washington has many problems, some of them peculiar to our city because we are the seat of the federal government, and many of them endemic to a big city which is growing even larger. The people must understand these problems, and they must be heard if we are to have true democracy. The press of our city and commercial radio and TV do a fine job, but I am most hopeful that Channel 26 will vastly extend community service programming. If WETA is to achieve the many fine hopes we have for it, it will need the fullest support from the people of the District of Columbia. I congratulate you and wish you the best possible success.
Thus, we have achieved our goal. WETA-TV is airborne. Where do we go from here? That's a question that we're most eager to answer. Let me present at this time the president of the Greater Washington Educational Television Association, Mrs. Edmund Camel. Mrs. Camel.
This is a time of crisis. In such times, citizens of a democracy have special need of a platform from which to express ideas. This station, WETA, can be your platform. In a democracy, citizens are constantly being challenged to learn, to seek new experiences, to look out of their windows and view the world. This station, WETA, can be your window on the world. Through this station, you can share the achievements of man in the comfort of your own home. You can enjoy great music, drama, art, the opera. You can participate in public affairs at the local, state, and national level. All of these programs are designed to stimulate the mind and give you a greater awareness of the fullness of the civilization in which we live. Man, God's highest creation, is endowed with the ability to reason, to discriminate, to invent, to relate himself to the universe. He is eternally being stimulated by the desire to know, to be taught. This station, WETA, can be your teacher. Languages, mathematics, science, history, music, art, an unlimited number of subjects can be offered for all ages, from preschool children to mature men and women. All this we offer and more. What a comparatively small group of people has achieved up to this point must now be carried on by all of us. We must depend on you through this station to provide the people of this great metropolitan area with a full measure of its rich resources in people, materials, and ideas. Our horizons have no limit.
We have tried to show briefly in this program some of the history and highlights, the purposes and positions, the gains and goals of this organization, GWETA, and of this station, WETA-TV. Here is an organization that saw a need, had a dream, and fulfilled a purpose by bringing this station into being. 8 years is a long time. Hard-working men and women have come, and some have gone, before this event of today finally came to pass. The final chapter of this, the new era, we trust will never be written. For although already 8 years old, its story has just begun. It is said that all that is past is prologue to what can be a great experience and adventure for all of us in the future. For this vast conglomeration of towers, transmitters, and tubes that we call a television station is not the property of some austere group of educators and businessmen, but the property of you, the individual citizens of this great metropolitan area. The station is an aid to the child, an educator to the adult, a voice of the community. Its service is restricted by none. Its policy is made by all. For all that it is today and all that it will be tomorrow must be controlled by you, the people. Its purposes, its programs, its plaudits will be your personal responsibility. Make this effort then, for the effort will be a reflection of your own image, as this community reflects the image of the nation. Stand on the threshold together with us and take the first great step into the new era.